we are in a beautiful Angkor Wat city. It's a city.
Siem Reap City.
Siem Reap City.
Angkor Wat is the whole area, and the temple structure that we've been visiting for the last few days is called Angkor Wat because Wat is a temple in Cambodian and in Thai, and Angkor actually means serpent according to many sources, so it was a Serpent Temple.
And yeah, serpent. And why there is ancient culture called like serpent?
Why they call it, because in all these ancient cultures, you can be here, Mexico, India, all through Asia, and even in the Bible and in Egypt, the serpent is a symbol. It moves like a wave. And the ancient cultures understood energy. They had a profound study of energy going into the chakras and all this. The wave is how energy moves. They knew that energy goes in waves. And modern quantum physics has rediscovered the wave nature. An electromagnetic wave is what makes atoms and molecules, etc. So these ancient cultures knew all this, and they used the serpent to symbolize it, and you'll see, you have seen in the walls and in everything, the serpent is all over the place.
And so the wave is, wave moves like a snake, or a snake moves like a wave?
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of goes both ways. So the symbolism goes from outer world to inner world. And in fact, actually, a serpent is like your spine also. Your spine has 33 vertebrae and it has curves in it, and energy in the spine goes up and down in waves. So this is all part of what the ancient people knew, and they were describing it. And then these temple structures are describing how energy moves and how we can access the energy. Humans accessing the energy without technology.
Okay, and there is one, it's about the Buddha sitting on coils.
A coiled serpent.
Coiled serpent?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is, what about the coils of serpent? Yeah.
And again, this symbol is here. You find it in Egypt, you find it all over India and in Thailand, using different deities. In India, it's Shiva sitting on a three-coiled serpent. Here, it used to be, but they changed to Buddhism, and Buddha's sitting on the three-coiled serpent. And everywhere in Thailand, you'll see the same thing. The coil is like the wave. If the wave is moving, is energy, it's this wave-like function. And when the wave entangles with another wave, it becomes a circle, a spiral, a coil. And this is what makes the atoms, the molecules, and everything of our material universe. So the coil that the Buddha is sitting on is the material element, and in yoga it becomes the three-coiled serpent is Kundalini.
Okay. And three coils, maybe I can understand like Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. The three coils.
The three deities of manifestation. And in yoga it goes into the three lower chakras, where you have Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And these.
Muladhara, Swadhisthana,
And Manipura, yeah. And this is coming up, wrapping up the energy of these, and then bringing it up into the fourth chakra is transforming the power, transforming the material aspect of the power back into energy. This is the awakening of Kundalini. Kundalini is said to be sleeping, right, in the first chakra. That means the energy is not vibrant, but coiled in our atomic and molecular structure.
Okay, and you can maybe delete it. This is one more question. It's maybe not really nice question. How to recognize the sleeping people? how to recognize the awakened people? How to feel
Sleeping people, you could say, are working on their programmed behavior. You get programmed in the school, you learn what to do, and then you just do it, and there's very little consciousness. It's almost like robot behavior. And then even when people are speaking, they're speaking in terms of what they've said before, a repetitive performance of past behavior, past speech, past thinking. Same we have in computers today, in our modern technology. The program is already in there, and then the computer just acts according to the program. Most people have consciousness in a state of sleep, and what they're doing is more just doing what they have learned to do without consciousness, essentially.
And there is the silence of sound.
A sound of silence.
A sound of silence.
Yeah.
Today morning no, not today morning. It's we were on the street.
Yeah.
There is one Cambodian guy with the tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
The tuk-tuk is a beautiful speaker, very loud.
Yeah,
The sound was
the sound of silence.
Yeah, it's so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Well, yeah, which you know is one of my favorite songs, because it's talking about the sleeping state of humanity. And no one's really talking about what's going on. No one's really awake. Everybody's just repeating old things, but the consciousness is missing. And in the song, they're talking about this missing consciousness is kind of gone astray, and the programs have gone into, we're worshipping our technology, which they call the neon in those days. Now it's more the digital age. But we've created this technology that we're given all our power to. And yoga brings back power to the human being, not to the technology, and the awakened consciousness.
And I understand that your most talking is like it's about sleeping people. And
it's the people who are sleeping. The purpose is awaken people.
How I recognize the one is awakening person. The awakening person, how I act like, behave like.
It takes an awakened person to recognize an awakened person.
Sorry, can you please repeat again? What?
In different terminology, it takes an enlightened being to recognize an enlightened being. The sleeping people don't know. They cannot recognize.
Okay.
They can try and follow, they can look at, and they can observe and study a little bit, but they can't recognize the awakened consciousness because they don't have awakened consciousness, and their perception is limited.
Okay, it's another project.
Another awakening video or something. I mean, Swami Gitananda's words were like that. People asked him, how do you recognize an enlightened being? Or how do you recognize if someone is really a yogi or not? And he said, it takes one to know one. If you are not awake, you're not going to know who else is awake. And the sleeping people are all just sleeping together, going around, doing their jobs and doing whatever they do in the world. But the idea of awakening in Buddhism, in all Eastern tradition, is becoming aware of consciousness, becoming aware that the entire universe is conscious. And we're part of that bigger consciousness. We're part of the universe. There's a oneness to all of it, which is the reality, again, being rediscovered in quantum physics.
Yeah, okay. So there's a serpent. The serpent is a really quantum. And what is the Kundalini?
Yeah, it's the same thing. What I was saying about the serpent, the coil. Okay, the wave is a wave moving at light speed. When the wave stops moving and gets entangled and it becomes the atom, the proton, the electron, this is the same wave. It collapses into the atoms and molecules that are the building blocks of you and me and everything else. And this is the sleeping Kundalini. It's not energy, it's not a wave anymore. It's trapped, sleeping in a molecular configuration. And the awakening of Kundalini is dissolving that, and the molecule dissolves and goes back into being waves. And a little bit of molecules is a lot of energy. And this is getting into nuclear power, which is another discovery in the modern technology in the last century, but using technology.
There is a sleeping Kundalini.
Yeah.
Psychology, mentally can be chaotic.
Yeah, the awakening of Kundalini can also be chaotic. Because it's starting to change your programs and what you thought you were and what you used to believe in, and you start seeing things differently. What I was saying, technology that creates nuclear weapons, take that and shine it inwards to human being, and this is the awakening of Kundalini. It's using our own body chemistry and molecules to transform the molecules into energy, and when you do that you have more and more energy. This is the awakening of Kundalini. It's essentially human nuclear power.
Yeah, and Kundalini and about that, and how connect with the chakra?
Well, you saw in the temples, everywhere you go you see this serpent. Again, the serpent is back to Kundalini. It's one serpent, but when it comes up it has these 7 heads. This is everywhere. It's in behind every Buddha. And if you look in the back of these Buddha statues, which used to be Shiva statues, the serpent, he's sitting on the coil, and then the serpent is coming up the spine, and at the head it divides into 7. There are 7 chakras, connected to the human body. Then there's chakras that are out in the universe. But these 7 chakras are fundamental to understanding our reality. 6 of them, there's 3 on each side. These are the 6 chakras in the body. The 7th one is consciousness itself. And consciousness is the highest of the serpent heads. It's above the others, and it's kind of supervising. Essentially, this is a symbol of consciousness directing the energies and keeping all the other energies in one force, rather than the energy of Muladhara going here, the energy of Swadhisthana going there. You're bringing all this energy into Sushumna, into the central channel, which is your spine and the serpent rising. And it brings this unfolding of human potential that can be amazing, powerful, enlightening.
It's the monument of consciousness, and everywhere, like the sign, it's like really golden age,
Yeah. I mean, if you look at all these cultures that had built temples, built pyramids, and Angkor Wat, and all these temples, and in Myanmar and Burma, you got all the stupas coming up out of the jungle. It was all about redirecting our energies upwards for evolution, opening up the mind, connecting with the universe. And the people who succeeded in doing this, like the Rajas, the kings of ancient India, were all empowered with Kundalini. And in your country you have Genghis Khan, who was, again, empowered enough to create this amazing empire, 4 times the size of the Roman Empire. What kind of power was he using? He didn't have technology, but he had the power to control thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, it's about Kundalini.
Yeah, it's about Kundalini. Same with the pharaohs in Egypt.
Yeah.
And if you look at the pharaohs, they have the serpent, the pharaoh statues, they have it coming up the spine, straight up, not even coiled anymore, but you will find the coiled serpent in Egypt. But the pharaoh has the serpent coming up the spine and coming out the 3rd eye.
It's a beautiful, civilized culture.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a beautiful symbol that he had Kundalini in control of the mind, and then from that perspective could govern the nation.
Yeah.
He was enlightened and empowered, both of them together.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
And the whole concept, again, with all these Buddha figures, the Buddha is one who has realized all this and has gathered the energy of all the chakras and brought it up to be directed by an enlightened consciousness.
Yeah, and okay. What are the specific chakra powers?
Well, here we're going more into a scientific understanding, because they understood energy and they had a kind of a whole map and layout of how energy works. And the chakra is a wheel of energy. It's a vortex of energy. And there's 6 of them that are then united into one force and governed by this consciousness, which is the supervisor of the energies. In modern science, we're looking at energy and we're studying, okay, we have gravity, we have magnetism. Well, the chakras are already mapping this out and explaining it. In electronics, we use what's called a schematic. It's a wiring diagram of how the energy moves. This is what the chakra information. It's like a map of human energy, consciousness, mind. In actual forces, scientifically, we have gravity, first chakra. We have covalence, the second chakra. We have combustion, third chakra. We have repulsion, the fourth chakra. Anahata. And then we have radiation as the fifth. Throat chakra. Vishuddha is radiation, electromagnetic energy radiating out in all directions. And the sixth chakra is the magnetic. The magnetic line governs the electromagnetic radiation. And in the universe there's a matrix of magnetic lines, forms, patterns that are governing how the energy is unfolding. And then above that you have consciousness, which is observing the whole thing, the electromagnetic energy, how it's forming into atoms and molecules, becoming manifestation, creation of everything in nature.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And this was the education of the ancient people, studying all of this and having experiences and these different forces. And again, you have these different forces, the different powers of the chakras uniting into one force.
Yeah,
and in science fiction, we have the old Star Wars epic, where the force is governing everything that actually happens, and the master of the force is called Yoda.
Yoda, yeah.
Yoda is the master of the force, one who has mastered the force. He's the Buddha of that age in science fiction. Why they call him Yoda? Because the people who put this film together understood something about the force, about the chakras, and about yoga. So they're trying to get the information across in different subtle ways, but very few people understand the significance. Like many people, how many people are coming here to these temples and just taking pictures all over the place, but have no real understanding of what is this Serpent Temple? Why is it serpents everywhere?